If you're a man over 60 and you've been waking up feeling off, not sick, not broken, just not you anymore, I need you to listen carefully. Maybe it started slow. A little more tired in the mornings. A little less steady in your step. Maybe your wife's been asking if you're okay, and you just brush it off with, just getting older. But deep down, you know something's shifted. You're eating what they told you was healthy. You're trying to stay active. Maybe you even take a few supplements. But your energy is fading, your bedroom confidence is inconsistent at best, and you're starting to feel invisible, not just to the world, but to yourself. I've seen this story play out for decades. And I'll tell you right now, it's not just age. It's not your fault. And you're not alone. I'm Dr. James. I've been helping men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s reclaim their strength, circulation, and confidence naturally, without prescriptions, without shame. And if there's one thing I've learned in over 30 years, it's this. There is a silent crisis happening to millions of men after 60. And almost no one is talking about it. Not your regular doctor. Not the health shows. And certainly not the food industry. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The very things you've been told are healthy, the vegetables you fill your fridge with, the foods you think are helping your heart, your weight, your digestion, may be the exact things draining your manhood. I'm not talking about candy or soda or junk food. I'm talking about things like soy milk, canned beets, eggplant parmesan, or steamed broccoli, the safe, clean, responsible foods. But inside those well-meaning choices are compounds that raise estrogen, stiffen your arteries, inflame your prostate, and slowly choke off the blood flow that keeps you vital, in your brain, in your legs, and yes, down there. You might feel a little more numb. A little more cold. A little more checked out, and you won't know why. And that's the cruel part. No one tells you that after 60, your body responds differently. No one tells you that what works for a 30-year-old can quietly backfire on a man your age. And here's what really breaks my heart. Most men don't even complain. They just shrink. Quietly. They accept it. I guess this is just aging. But what if I told you that's not true? What if I told you the decline is optional? What if I told you that the difference between feeling invisible and feeling alive again could be found on your plate? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 4 vegetables you must avoid if you care about circulation, testosterone, and vitality after 60. And then I'll reveal 4 powerful vegetables that do the opposite, ones that restore blood flow, sharpen your energy, and support your manhood in ways no pill ever could. But before we get into the details, I want you to pause and take this in. You're not too far gone. You're not too old. Your body hasn't forgotten how to be strong. It's just waiting for the right signal. And that signal can start with what's on your fork. Let's talk about the first vegetable you need to watch out for, because while the label says, heart healthy, your hormones know better. And the story of one man who found out the hard way might just sound a little too familiar. The first time I met Robert, he came into my office wearing a forced smile and a quiet frustration in his eyes. He was 68. Retired school principal. Carried himself like a man who used to be in control of every room he walked into. But that day, something was off. He sat down and said, "Doc, I'm not sick. I'm not in pain. But I just don't feel like me anymore. I'm tired, even after a full night's sleep. I've got no spark. And I haven't felt like a husband in months, if you know what I mean." He chuckled nervously, like so many men do when they talk around what's really hurting. We ran his labs. Heart. Fine. Blood sugar. Slightly elevated. Cholesterol. Manageable. But then I saw it, his estrogen was high. Not just slightly above range. Significantly elevated for a man his age. So I asked him a question I always ask when numbers don't add up. Tell me about what you've been eating. Robert lit up proudly. "Doc, I cleaned up my diet years ago. No more red meat. I'm doing tofu instead. Edamame. Soy milk in my coffee. Couple veggie burgers here and there. I even snack on roasted soy nuts." He thought he was doing everything right. And that's when the pieces fell into place. You see, soy is one of the most praised health foods on the planet. It's plant-based. It's heart-friendly. It's cheap, versatile, and found in everything from protein bars to frozen meals. But here's the part they don't tell you. Soy is packed with phytoestrogens, plant compounds that mimic estrogen in the male body. Now, for a young man with plenty of testosterone, that might not make much of a dent. But for someone over 60, whose natural testosterone is already in gradual decline, it can throw the whole system out of balance. And that's exactly what happened to Robert. Estrogen began rising. Testosterone dropped even lower. The result? Fatigue. Brain fog. Softer body. Slower recovery. And worst of all, intimacy that went from inconsistent to non-existent. This wasn't just emotional. It was biochemical. And it was reversible. We removed all sources of soy from Robert's diet. Not just the obvious ones like tofu and soy milk, but the sneaky ones too, salad dressings, protein powders, packaged snacks, and even healthy veggie meats. And within weeks, things started shifting. His energy came back first. Then his clarity. And finally, that fire he thought was gone forever. A month later, I got a handwritten card from his wife. "Thank you, Dr. James," she wrote. "You didn't just help my husband. You brought him back." Now, am I saying soy is evil? No. But I am saying this. For men over 60, especially those struggling with low energy, performance issues, or prostate inflammation, soy is a trap. A quiet, well-marketed estrogen trap. And because it's so common in health foods, most men never see it coming. You don't need to fear every plant. But you do need to understand what your body needs now, not what the label says is healthy for everyone. Because what works for your granddaughter's metabolism might be slowly shutting yours down. Let's move on to the next vegetable. This one's tricky, because it starts off as one of the best foods for blood flow, until it's processed into something that does the exact opposite. And most guys don't even know they're eating it wrong. Let me tell you about Harold, and what a can of healthy vegetables almost cost him. Harold was 72 when he walked into my office, wearing a windbreaker, khaki pants, and that same confused expression I've seen on so many men his age. He sat down, leaned forward, and said, "Doc, I don't get it. I'm doing everything right. I eat my vegetables. I take my walks. I've even cut back on red meat. But I still feel cold in my legs. My energy's down. And, things just aren't working like they used to, you know, down there." He whispered that last part. He looked down. Embarrassed, like it was somehow his fault. I asked him a few questions. Then one in particular. "Are you still eating beets?" He nodded. "Every day with dinner. I read they're good for blood pressure and circulation." "Fresh or canned?" He hesitated. "Canned. Sometimes pickled. It's just easier." And right there was the problem. Fresh beets are one of the most powerful circulation-boosting vegetables a man can eat. They're rich in natural nitrates, compounds that your body turns into nitric oxide, the molecule that opens up blood vessels and allows blood to flow freely. But canned or pickled beets? They've been through high heat, chemical preservation, and long-term storage. By the time they hit your plate, most of those precious nitrates are gone. And worse, what's been added in their place is a ton of sodium and vinegar. Salt constricts your blood vessels. Vinegar, in high amounts, can irritate the stomach and digestive tract. And the result? You're not helping your circulation. You're tightening the very arteries you're trying to open. For men over 60, those arteries matter. Not just the big ones to your heart. I'm talking about the tiny, sensitive vessels in your legs, and in your pelvis, the ones responsible for intimacy, confidence, and vitality. I looked at Harold's diet and estimated he was getting nearly double the recommended daily sodium, much of it from those healthy, canned vegetables. We made one simple change. We swapped the cans for fresh beets, roasted with olive oil, a little sea salt, and some rosemary. That was it. 2 weeks later, Harold told me he felt warmer in his fingers and toes. A month in, he was walking longer distances with less fatigue. And about 6 weeks after that, he gave me a little smirk and said, "Doc, something's finally working again." You know what I mean. He knew. And I knew. That's what blood flow does. It doesn't just keep your heart beating. It keeps you alive in every sense of the word. Most men think they're doing the right thing. They buy canned veggies. They follow the low-fat, heart-healthy trends. But they don't realize that processing changes everything. What starts off as medicine, becomes something else entirely once it's canned, pickled, or microwaved to death. So next time you reach for that easy jar or tin, ask yourself, is this really helping my body, or quietly closing me off? We're just getting started. The next vegetable is one of the most beloved in the Mediterranean diet. It's praised on cooking shows. Found in healthy recipes everywhere. But for older men, especially those struggling with nerve sensitivity or joint pain, it could be inflaming your body in ways you've never imagined. And you might be eating it every night without realizing what it's doing to you. Let me tell you about Frank, and a vegetable called eggplant. Frank was the kind of guy you couldn't help but like. 75 years old, retired contractor, hands like sandpaper, voice like gravel, and a grin that told you he'd seen a few things in life. But that day, when he sat across from me, there was no grin. Just frustration. And something else, fear he didn't want to say out loud. "Doc," he started, "my knees feel like they're filled with gravel. My back's stiff in the morning. And here's the kicker. I've lost all sensation down there. Not pain. Just nothing. Like someone turned off the power." I ran the usual tests. Nothing alarming. No major blockages. Heart was in decent shape for his age. But something didn't add up. His numbers were fine, but his quality of life? Crumbling. So I asked him to walk me through his meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's when I heard it. My wife makes this baked eggplant dish, eggplant, tomato sauce, some cheese. We have it at least 4 nights a week. It's our thing. Kinda reminds us of Italy. There it was. Eggplant. Most people think of it as a harmless vegetable. Part of the Mediterranean diet. Full of fiber. A good meat substitute. But what they don't realize is that eggplant belongs to the nightshade family, along with tomatoes, peppers, and white potatoes. And here's the part most men don't know. Nightshades contain alkaloids, natural plant chemicals that, in some people, can trigger low-grade inflammation, especially in the joints and nervous system. And for men like Frank, who already had mild circulatory issues and age-related inflammation, that tiny trigger was enough to push things over the edge. What he was experiencing, the numbness, the dull sensation in his pelvic floor, the stiffness in his joints, wasn't just about blood flow. It was about nerve signaling being disrupted. Think of it like this: your body is a circuit board. Your nerves are the wires. And when inflammation creeps in, it's like corrosion on those wires, the signal doesn't reach where it needs to go. Even if the power is on, nothing lights up. I asked Frank to cut back on eggplant. Not forever. Just a 4-week break to see what happened. We also reduced his intake of other nightshades, especially the heavily cooked, cheesy kind that shows up in comfort food. The results were slow but steady. Within 2 weeks, his knees didn't feel as locked. By week 3, the tingling in his legs began to ease. And around the 1-month mark, he walked in with a grin again. He leaned in, lowered his voice, and said, "Doc, it's coming back." I didn't think I'd ever feel anything there again. But I do. Just a little, but enough to make me hopeful. That's the power of removing just one source of inflammation. Now, am I saying everyone needs to give up eggplant for life? No. But if you're feeling stiff, numb, or disconnected, especially below the belt, and nothing seems to explain it, nightshades may be quietly stirring up inflammation in your system. And remember, inflammation doesn't always look like swelling or redness. Sometimes it looks like silence. Like sensation fading. Like confidence slipping away. Like distance between you and the person you love. The good news? Once you know what's causing it, you can change it. And the next vegetable on our list? It's the most surprising of all. Because it starts off as one of the healthiest foods on earth, loaded with antioxidants and hormone-balancing compounds, until it's cooked the wrong way and turned into nutritional dead weight. Let me tell you what happens when good broccoli goes bad, and how it could be robbing your body of the one compound your prostate desperately needs. Walter was one of the most disciplined men I'd ever met. He was 69, a widower, soft-spoken, always on time for his checkups, and followed every piece of advice he'd ever been given to the letter. He didn't smoke. Rarely drank. Walked every morning before breakfast. And when he sat down in my office, he greeted me with a proud smile. "Doc," he said, "I eat broccoli every night. Steam the life out of it. I heard it's good for the prostate and keeps you regular." He laughed a little, but I could tell something was bothering him. His smile faded and he lowered his voice. "But lately, I've been tired. Foggy. I'm up 2, sometimes 3 times a night to pee. And when it comes to the bedroom, it's like the lights are on but nobody's home." I listened, nodded, then asked him how exactly he was preparing his food. "Well," he said, "I steam that broccoli till it's soft as butter. Sometimes I microwave it too, if I'm in a rush." And there it was, the quiet mistake that thousands of men just like Walter make every single day. Now, don't get me wrong, broccoli is a powerhouse vegetable. Especially for men over 60. It contains a rare compound called sulforaphane, which helps your body detox excess estrogen, reduce inflammation, and protect the prostate from swelling and cellular damage. In fact, sulforaphane is one of the most important nutrients a man can consume for hormonal balance after 60. But here's the catch. Sulforaphane is incredibly sensitive to heat. When you boil broccoli until it's mushy. When you microwave it until it wilts. You destroy the very compound that makes it medicinal. What's left is a limp pile of fiber that looks healthy, but no longer carries the protective punch your aging body desperately needs. Walter thought he was doing everything right. But in reality, he was eating the right vegetable the wrong way, and unknowingly robbing his body of the one thing that could help his hormones settle and his prostate calm down. So we made one simple adjustment. I asked him to lightly steam his broccoli for no more than 3 minutes, just until it turned a vibrant green but still had some bite. I also encouraged him to eat it raw once in a while, tossed in olive oil, lemon, a pinch of salt. Nothing fancy. Within a couple of weeks, the nighttime urination began to ease. His mental clarity improved. He was waking up feeling more rested, more present. And over time, even his bedroom performance began to return, slow, steady, and natural. He came in for a follow-up visit, leaned back in the chair, and said, "You know what's funny, Doc? I've been eating broccoli for years, but I never knew it needed to be treated with respect." And he's right. Because food isn't just fuel. It's information. And your body reads everything you put into it, not just what it is, but how it's prepared. The difference between medicine and missed opportunity? Sometimes it's just 2 extra minutes of steam. So before you nuke that broccoli to oblivion, remember this, you're not just feeding your body, you're sending it instructions. And at this stage of life, every instruction matters. Now that you've seen the 4 vegetables that can quietly sabotage your circulation, hormones, and confidence, let's flip the script. Because the truth is, food can hurt, or food can heal. And coming up next, I'll show you 4 powerful vegetables that do the exact opposite. Ones that restore blood flow, energize your body, and help you reclaim the strength you thought you'd lost. We'll start with a leafy green so simple, it's been hiding in plain sight. And yet, it may be the closest thing nature has to rocket fuel for the bedroom. When you feed your body the wrong signals, even by accident, it slowly forgets how to be strong. But when you start giving it what it actually needs, something shifts. I've seen it happen again and again. Robert cut out soy and started feeling like himself again. Harold swapped canned beets for fresh ones and noticed the warmth returning to his legs. Frank dropped eggplant, and for the first time in years, sensation came back where he thought it was gone forever. And Walter? He just changed how he steamed his broccoli, and began sleeping through the night without rushing to the bathroom. None of these men took a magic pill. None of them overhauled their lives. They just made small, precise changes, and their bodies responded. Because once you understand what's quietly working against you, you can finally start doing what works for you. That's the turning point. Not another supplement. Not another prescription. But the quiet realization that your body is still listening. Even at 60, 70, or 80, it hasn't stopped responding. It's just been waiting for the right message. And that message can begin with a single bite. So now that we've uncovered the 4 vegetables you should avoid, it's time to talk about the ones that can bring you back to life. Because the next few foods aren't just healthy, they're performance fuel for older men. And the first one? It's leafy, peppery, and might just help restore your blood flow, without a prescription. Let's talk about arugula. Arugula doesn't look like much. It's not flashy. It doesn't have a long list of trendy buzzwords next to it. Most guys walk right past it in the produce aisle without a second glance. Just another green leaf. But for older men, especially those dealing with fatigue, cold limbs, or struggles in the bedroom, this humble little green might be the most powerful ally you've never considered. I met Tom about a year ago. He was 71, a retired Air Force mechanic. He still carried that military posture, upright, squared shoulders, but there was heaviness in the way he spoke. His wife had passed 3 years earlier. Since then, he told me, it felt like the spark inside him had gone out. "I'm not asking for miracles, Doc," he said. "I just want to feel like a man again. Even just a glimpse of it." We went over everything: sleep, meds, circulation, hormone levels. Nothing was wildly out of line. But when we looked at his meals, I noticed a theme. Beige. Toast for breakfast. Pasta for dinner. Some meat, very few greens, and definitely nothing leafy or peppery. That's when I told him about arugula. It's not just a salad garnish. Arugula is one of the richest natural sources of dietary nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide, the very molecule that relaxes and opens your blood vessels, allowing blood to flow freely to your brain, your muscles, and everywhere else that matters for performance. Unlike synthetic drugs that force blood flow with side effects, arugula works with your body, helping your arteries do what they were designed to do naturally. That means stronger circulation, warmer extremities, sharper mental focus, and yes, firmer, more reliable erections. I asked Tom to keep it simple. Add a small handful of arugula to his morning eggs. Maybe toss a few leaves into his lunch sandwich. A side salad with dinner, dressed in olive oil and lemon. Nothing complicated. He didn't expect much. But by the end of week 1, something shifted. He said his legs didn't feel so heavy. He wasn't short of breath on his morning walks. His brain felt more awake. Then, early one morning at his follow-up, he sat down and said, "Doc, this is gonna sound crazy, but I woke up with something I haven't felt in almost 2 years. I wasn't even thinking about it. It just happened." And then he smiled, not a hopeful smile. A knowing smile. That's the thing about circulation. When blood starts flowing again, the body remembers how to feel alive. And arugula does that gently, without chemicals, without embarrassment, and without the crash and burn of medication. But more than that, it gives back something men over 60 often lose quietly over time: dignity. The sense that your body is still capable. That you can still surprise yourself. That you're not fading, just waiting for the right spark. That's what arugula gave Tom. And I've seen it do the same for dozens of men since. It's not just a leaf. It's a message. One that says, we're not done yet. But arugula is just the beginning. Because the next vegetable is a little messier. It stains your hands. It's earthy and bold. But when eaten fresh and prepared the right way, it delivers a surge of blood flow that you can literally feel in just a few days. Let me introduce you to the deep red powerhouse that might change everything: fresh roasted beets. Beets are messy. They stain your cutting board. They leave your fingers red. And to some guys, they taste a little too earthy. But don't let that fool you. Because when it comes to reviving blood flow in men over 60, fresh red beets might be one of the most powerful natural tools we have. I think about Carl every time I talk about this. He was 67, a retired firefighter, the kind of man who'd spent his life saving others, but now, he couldn't save the part of himself that was slowly slipping away. "Doc," he said, "I love my wife. She's still beautiful to me. But I don't feel like the man I was. I get tired fast. My legs feel heavy. And I've started avoiding intimacy. Not because I don't want to. Because I feel like I can't deliver." That hit hard. Because I could tell this wasn't about pride. It was about grief, the quiet kind most men never talk about. We went through everything: heart health, stress, hormones, sleep. And just like so many times before, it kept coming back to one word: circulation. If blood can't move, neither can energy, confidence, or desire. That's when I brought up fresh beets. Not the pickled stuff. Not the canned slices floating in syrup. I'm talking about real, raw beets roasted in the oven until tender, seasoned with olive oil, sea salt, maybe a touch of rosemary. Beets are loaded with natural nitrates, which your body turns into nitric oxide, the same miracle molecule that opens up your arteries and gets your blood moving where it needs to go. Brain. Muscles. Heart. Pelvis. And here's the part most men don't know. Beets can start working in as little as 12 hours. Carl agreed to try it. 3 times a week, he roasted a small batch of beets and added them to his dinner. Nothing else in his routine changed. A few days in, he said his legs didn't feel as cold in the morning. By the end of the second week, he was walking longer without stopping to catch his breath. But the moment that mattered most? He came in one morning, sat down, took a deep breath, and said, "She smiled at me last night, document. Like she used to." He didn't need to say anything else. I knew exactly what he meant. Because when circulation returns, connection returns. And that's the part no one talks about. See, for older men, intimacy isn't just about mechanics. It's about feeling present. Engaged. Capable. And none of that happens if your blood flow has gone silent. Beets bring it back. Not through force, but through oxygen. Through nourishment. Through opening up the system that time and stress have quietly shut down. But, and this is key, they must be fresh. Once beets are pickled or canned, their nitrate content drops dramatically. What's left is a sugary, salty imitation of what your body actually needs. So if you're serious about improving your circulation, skip the shortcuts. Buy fresh beets. Roast them slowly. Let them do their work. Because that little burst of warmth in your hands, your feet, and maybe somewhere else, isn't just blood flow. It's life coming back online. And we're just getting started. Because while beets fuel the system, the next vegetable protects the foundation, your prostate. And here's the twist, most men eat it raw, and miss its true power completely. Let me show you how a simple cooked tomato can silently guard your manhood, one meal at a time. Richard was 74 when he first came to see me. Silver hair, well-groomed, still wore polished loafers and tucked in every shirt he owned, a true old-school gentleman. But behind that crisp appearance, I could see the weight he carried. "It's not just the bathroom trips, Doc," he said. "It's what they do to your mind. I can't sit through a movie without planning my escape route. I can't sleep through the night. And when I try to be close with my wife, I'm either too tired, too distracted, or too embarrassed by what doesn't work anymore." He paused. Then looked me in the eye and said something I won't forget. "I just want to be her man again. Not her patient." That hit me hard. Because I've heard versions of that same sentence from dozens of men. They're not just talking about performance. They're talking about identity. About the slow erosion of what it means to show up as a strong, confident presence, not just physically, but emotionally and intimately. And for so many of those men, the root of that struggle isn't just hormones or age. It's the prostate. That small gland, about the size of a walnut, has the power to make a man feel powerless when it swells, inflames, and disrupts sleep, urination, and confidence. But here's the good news. There's a quiet, humble food that's been shown in clinical research to help reduce prostate inflammation, protect cellular health, and support hormonal balance. It's not rare. It's not expensive. It's not even exotic. It's the tomato. But here's the catch, it has to be cooked. When you cook tomatoes, they release a powerful antioxidant called lycopene, and lycopene has a unique affinity for prostate tissue. It helps reduce oxidative stress, lower inflammation, and may even decrease the risk of prostate enlargement and cancer. Raw tomatoes? Still good, but not enough. Lycopene becomes bioavailable, meaning your body can actually use it, only when tomatoes are heated and combined with a healthy fat like olive oil. So I gave Richard a simple assignment. No supplements. No fancy treatments. Just start eating cooked tomatoes 2 or 3 times a week. That could mean roasted tomatoes on toast, homemade tomato soup with basil and garlic, or a pasta sauce made with olive oil and herbs. 2 weeks in, Richard said the urgency had eased. A month in, he was sleeping longer stretches without interruption. But what really got to him wasn't the physical relief, it was what his wife noticed. "You're laughing again," she told him. "You're not glued to the bathroom door." That was the turning point. Because when your prostate calms down, your whole world starts to feel less restricted. You're no longer timing your outings around restrooms. You're no longer half present during dinner. You're not living on edge. You're just there. Fully. Confidently. Peacefully. Cooked tomatoes did that for Richard. And they've done it for thousands of other men who had no idea such a simple food could make such a profound difference. So if you're a man over 60 and you're dealing with nighttime urination, urgency, or that tied-up sensation in your lower belly, don't overlook this. Start cooking your tomatoes. Add a little olive oil. Make it delicious. Make it regular. Because when you protect your prostate, you protect your presence. And your presence is everything. Next up, let's talk about the green that helps unlock your testosterone, not add more, but free up what's already inside you, waiting to be used. It's quiet. It's powerful. And it just might change the way you carry yourself every day. Not every man who walks into my office is sick. Some of them, like Leonard, are just faded. He was 70. Quiet, polite, neatly dressed. Married for over 40 years. He didn't complain much. That generation rarely does. But I could tell something was weighing on him. I'm still in love with her, Dr. James, he said softly. But I don't feel like a man anymore. Not in my body. Not in my mind. I've got no drive. No edge. And I can see the distance growing between us, even though she doesn't say a word. He looked down when he said it. Not from shame, from grief. We ran the tests. His numbers weren't terrible. But they told a familiar story. Low free testosterone. Elevated stress markers. Mild inflammation. Poor circulation. But the biggest issue wasn't how much testosterone Leonard had. It was how much was locked up, bound, inactive, and unavailable for his body to use. That's where spinach comes in. Most people think of it as rabbit food, bland, boring, just something you shove to the side of the plate. But for older men, spinach is one of the most overlooked hormonal tools in the grocery store. It's rich in magnesium, folate, and plant-based nitrates, 3 nutrients that play key roles in relaxing blood vessels, reducing inflammation, and most importantly, freeing up bound testosterone in the bloodstream. You see, after 60, many men don't necessarily stop producing testosterone, it just gets trapped, bound to a protein called SHBG. And when that happens, your body can't access it. Magnesium helps break that bond. Folate supports methylation, a key process in hormone metabolism. And the natural nitrates in spinach boost nitric oxide, helping your blood move freely, delivering those hormones exactly where they're needed. I told Leonard to start small. A handful of lightly steamed spinach with lunch. A side of sautéed spinach with olive oil and garlic at dinner. Or even a handful tossed into his morning smoothie. Within days, he noticed a change in his mental clarity. He said it was like a fog lifting. By the end of week 2, his posture changed, he stood taller, walked with more intent. And then came the moment that stayed with him the most. One morning, as he poured his coffee, his wife kissed him on the cheek, paused, looked him up and down, and said, "You're standing taller again." That one sentence meant more than any lab result ever could. Because this isn't just about hormones. It's about how you carry yourself. How you show up. Not just as a man, but as a partner, protector, and presence in your own home. Spinach helped Leonard reclaim that. And I've seen it do the same for dozens of men, not with a miracle, not with a pill, but with a quiet, daily choice to nourish the body like it still matters. So whether you eat it raw, steamed, sautéed, or blended, don't overlook spinach. It doesn't shout. It doesn't sell. But it supports your strength in the most foundational way, by unlocking what's already inside you. And now that you've seen the 4 vegetables that can rebuild circulation, restore confidence, and rebalance hormones, there's one more thing you need to understand. Because even the best foods won't work if you make this one critical mistake, a mistake that happens at nearly every meal, and silently drains your power no matter what's on your plate. Let me explain. The mistake. Thinking food is just fuel. That it's just calories and nutrients and portion sizes. But the truth is, food is instruction. Every bite you take tells your body something. Eat the wrong foods, even the so-called healthy ones, and the message is confusion. Inflammation. Shut down. But eat the right ones, in the right form, at the right time, and suddenly, your body remembers. It remembers how to circulate blood with purpose. How to wake up with energy instead of fog. How to feel again, in your mind, in your muscles, and in the parts of you that make you a man. I've watched it happen over and over again. Robert cut out soy and got his fire back. Harold ditched the canned beets and felt warmth return to his legs, and his marriage. Frank gave up eggplant, and one day whispered, "Doc, it's coming back." Walter stopped nuking his broccoli and finally slept through the night without running to the bathroom. Then came the turn. Tom added a handful of arugula, and within a week, started waking up with something he hadn't felt in years. Carl roasted his way back to life with fresh red beets, and reconnected with the woman who'd been waiting for him to show up again. Richard chose cooked tomatoes and felt his confidence rise every time his urgency dropped. Leonard steamed a little spinach and stood tall enough for his wife to say, "There you are." These men didn't take shortcuts. They didn't wait for permission. They just started feeding their bodies differently, and everything changed. Because the truth is, your body hasn't stopped working. It's just been waiting for better instructions. And those instructions don't come in a bottle. They come on a plate. Simple. Real. Natural. Targeted. What you remove matters: soy, overcooked cruciferous veggies, nightshades, canned or pickled beets. But what you add? That's where the rebuilding begins. Arugula to fuel blood flow. Fresh roasted beets to restore circulation. Cooked tomatoes to guard the prostate. Spinach to liberate testosterone and lift your presence back into the room. These aren't superfoods. They're reminders that you are still capable. Still alive. Still in this game. So if you've been feeling like time's passed you by, if you've looked in the mirror and wondered where he went, I'm here to tell you, you're not too far gone. You're not too broken. You're not too old. You're just one forkful away. That next bite, that next meal, that next choice, it could be the one that turns the lights back on. Not overnight. Not in a flash. But steadily, gently, with dignity. And if this video has helped you see what's possible, please, like it, share it, comment below. Even a thank you might be the nudge another man needs to take his first step back to himself. And if you'd like to support this mission, consider making a small donation, to keep this information real, and available for the men who need it most. Because when one man rises, others follow. Let's keep rising, one bite, one breath, one choice at a time. You've got this. And I'll be right here, walking with you.